Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon coming at you with the trifecta of entitled parent stories. First one, entitled teen endangers children and beachgoers. Entitled mother doesn't stop him. Let's jump right in. Backstory. My grandparents own a cabin in Lake Tahoe, which is where they spend the majority of their summers when not traveling, where I have stayed countless times. The cabin is part of a neighborhood with a private beach only for homeowners and renters, and the beach has a roped off area that kayakers and boats aren't allowed to enter so swimmers can be safe. Inside the swimmers area, there is a floating platform that is chained to the lake floor beneath it. Now, this platform isn't some cheap floaty, it is made of metal and buoys to keep it afloat, and is heavy duty. There is also a dock that boats constantly pull up to in order to load and unload passengers. This comes up later in the story. The story. My grandparents were down at the beach with my cousins one day during this past summer, and they were all swimming and taking my grandparents' kayaks up and down the shore. When they came back to the main beach, G noticed a teenage boy, further on called E title teenager, standing on the platform and rocking it back and forth. Now, a similar situation happened the previous summer. A little more backstory. I was there when this happened a couple summers ago, when I was at the beach with a lot of my extended family. A group of teenagers rocked the platform so much that it turned over, coming loose from the lake floor. My dad and my uncles swam over to fix it, which took over an hour to accomplish. One of my uncles, an experienced swimmer, had to reattach the chain to the lake floor. Back to the story. After a couple of minutes of entitled teenager rocking the platform overturned. But this time, the chain snapped. For the next couple of days, the platform was sitting on the beach while a new chain was ordered. Grandma went down to the beach again the next week. The beach was crowded with people, and tons of kids were playing in the swimming area. She set up her stuff at a free chase lounge and began to read her book. A little while later, she notices the same kid rocking the platform again. Fed up with his destructive actions, Grandma went to the end of the dock and asked one of the boat boys to stop him. However, they didn't have jurisdiction to act as lifeguards because they didn't have the training. Also, boats were lined up waiting to dock, so they were swamped with work. Disappointed, my grandma went back to her chaise lounge to relax. A little while later, Grandma saw that the teenager was talking to his mother, who was standing on the dock, and Grandma was relieved to see that he was being reprimanded. But to her surprise, entitled mother began to laugh and walked back to her chaise lounge. At this point, kids were trying to get on the platform but couldn't because it was rocking too much. Seeing that the kids were getting dangerously close to the platform and knowing that one of them could get seriously injured if it overturned, Grandma was mad. She walked over to entitled mother, who was nonchalantly talking to another woman. The drama. Grandma begins to talk in a nice, respectful tone. "Is that your son over there on the raft?" "Yeah." "Well, he is dangerously close to overturning the platform. Could you get him to stop before he hurts one of the kids? He likes doing it." Taken aback with her rudeness, she decides that this woman doesn't deserve any kindness. "Excuse me. He likes to do it and I'm not going to stop him." Grandma is seething. "You know something? The problem with kids in this generation are horrible parents like you." The end. Knowing that she couldn't do anything, Grandma had to just walk away. Later she discovered that the platform was removed permanently because of safety reasons. This is disappointing to me because I love to use the platform with my sister and my cousins. Sorry for the unsatisfying ending. Wow, definitely an unsatisfying ending. It's too bad this isn't pro-revenge because this had the beginning of a really good pro-revenge story. I could have seen this turning around big time for that kid and his entitled mother. On to our next story. How my entitled father scammed hundreds of people and how karma ensued. Let's jump right in. So I feel like you guys need to know what's about to be written here is all true. So it's up to you if you want to believe it or not. This also happened a couple years ago when I moved to the US. Also, this has almost no dialogue and more of a story. Backstory. So I live in a family of 5, which includes my parents and my older and younger brother, making me the middle one. Me, 13 when I'm writing this, and my older brother, 15 years old, were born in Brazil 1 year apart, whilst my little brother, 10 right now, was born in Italy. Both of my parents were also born in Brazil. However, my grandmother on my father's side has always protected my father by helping him with literally everything, by covering up his crimes, like burning down a rental car, another story, and the crime he committed in this story, which will be mentioned in a second. My grandfather on my father's side of the family had been lied to and had all his money stolen by my grandmother, resulting in his smoking and drinking problems, which led up to his death on Father's Day last year. This is all important information. Now, 6 years ago, my family had been living in the UK before the whole Article 13 BS, and that's where I learned my English and was bullied for the 3 years there, resulting in my depression, which I have had to this day. However, on one uneventful day, my father, entitled father, said the following to my mother. Now, this is all translated as they were speaking Portuguese. "Hey, I'm going to the USA. Why? I found a high-paying job there, and I want the family to live the American dream." Mother knew this was all BS because she was the only one working in the family, with entitled father and grandmother mooching off of her and threatening to get rid of me and my brothers if she tried to divorce. Yeah, sure thing. Mother at that point wanted him as far away from us, which is why she accepted. Entitled father later that month left for the US and got a job from one of his friends as a hotel manager. This is where it begins. A month after him leaving, he eventually decided to buy tickets for us to travel there. Had my mom known what was about to happen, she never would have accepted. So entitled father's job earned him about $5,000 a week, including money he was supposed to have spent on the hotel. Now this was obviously a lot of money. It was a popular hotel among the townsfolk. But entitled father wanted more. He started stashing some of that money in an offshore account under grandmother's name, in which she was obviously okay with, and this is where the scams start. So you know how you have to pay for a security deposit when getting a room at a hotel? Well, the security deposit there was $600 a person, with $800 being for a family of 4 and so on. Now, that security deposit was obviously supposed to go to the security there and whatnot. I don't know, because like I said, I'm 13. So entitled father thought it should be a good idea to take that money out of 600 people or families and then kick them all out and shut down the hotel, resulting in all those people scammed and homeless and the employees going broke. He barely paid them. He also put all that money in offshore accounts so they wouldn't get the money after arresting him. Now obviously this angered all the townsfolk, and eventually a news team came by and interviewed the assistant manager, who had absolutely no idea what was happening. This happened a couple years ago, so my memory may be fuzzy. So today I have assistant manager here of hotel. Hi, so can you tell me about the shutdown of the hotel and the cockroach problem in the rooms? There was a big cockroach problem. I have no idea why it was shut down or why entitled father didn't do anything about the cockroaches. The interview continued and then ended. I don't remember much but that. Now on to the karma. So entitled father had divorced mother by lying to her and making her sign the divorce papers saying it was school papers. She didn't know English, and that left the family in even more hellhole than it was before. Long story short on what happens next, my mom finds a nice person who is my stepdad. My father wasn't too happy with that, as he wanted to go back to my mom after he married to someone else and got papers. He eventually took care of me and my brothers for 10 months, while my mother was in a different state with my stepdad. Entitled father had been mentally manipulating us by saying things like, "Your mother abandoned you," "Your mother doesn't love you anymore," or my favorite one, obvious sarcasm, "Your mother is a demon." During those 10 months, we were living house to house because of my father being a boy. After we went to our mother's custody, she's winning against him in court. We told her all that happened, and she ended up telling CPS and the police about that. He was arrested, only to be bailed out by you-know-who, and is still under investigation by CPS for the mental manipulation towards me and my brothers, and the physical abuse towards my older brother. He's gonna pay back all the money he stole, and he's gonna pay back my mother for the 11 years she was single-handedly taking care of us. And for the cherry on top, he's paying child support until my little brother is legally an adult. So yeah, good ending. Or so I hoped. He keeps trying to manipulate us to this day, and saying he has full custody and forging papers to try and get custody of us so he can keep mooching off mom like he did before. Well, that definitely sounds like an entitled father to me, but I don't even know if that guy deserves the father title. I think he might just deserve the spunk donor title. On to our last story. Entitled family tries to steal my cat. let's jump right in. Hey you lovely people, I've had quite a few experiences with entitled parents and other people, and here I am to tell you how one time an entitled family tried to steal my cat. This did happen about 10 years ago, but I'll tell as much as I can remember. I used to live in a pretty small town where everyone knew pretty much everyone, so most of the time it was more than fine to let my two cats wander around outside. Both cats were, and still are, very clingy, and often followed me or my mom if they saw we were outside too, so we'd always either keep them inside while we went somewhere, or make a run for it until the cats would just give up. That day was one of those days where I made a run for it, as Turbo had been following me to the grocery store. After a few minutes, I was on my way back and almost home when I saw a family consisting of Entitled Kid, Entitled Dad, and Entitled Mom standing by Turbo. Entitled Kid petting my cat and giggling how pretty she was while her parents watched. Now, I don't want to brag, but Turbo is a very pretty cat, and I've gotten tons of compliments on her. Taking a better look, I could see the family wasn't from around. Their car, clothes, and Entitled Mother's jewelry all looking very expensive, which wasn't something you really saw in my town. Not because people were poor, but nobody was really flashy, and no one wanted to be the first to stick out. Judging from where their car was parked, I think they were there to look at a house for sale. Anyway, I was smiling to myself and feeling proud again that someone liked my cat, when suddenly the Entitled Kid looked at her parents and asked, "Mommy, can we keep him?" To which the mother said, "Sure, sweetie, you've been so good lately, so you deserve a pet." This, of course, gave me a minor heart attack as the entitled mother bent down to pick up Turbo. Luckily, Turbo and I had a little game whenever I wanted her inside. I would bend down to pick her up, only to have her run a few feet, stop, and wait for me to try again a few times. At that moment, Turbo seemed to think it was playtime, and with a little meow, ran about 3 feet away, stopped, and looked back at Entitled Mother, challenging her to try again, which she did. This is honestly pretty funny to watch, but when Entitled Mom called for Entitled Dad to open the car door and help her get Turbo in it, I decided to step in. I called Turbo's name to get her attention, and seeing me, she ran as fast as her little legs could go at me, meowing loudly the whole time as I gave her a few pets and told her we were going home. This did not sit well with the Entitled family, as Entitled Kids started scream crying, and the parents both looked at me like I stabbed their brat and pissed in the wounds. "What the hell are you doing? Taking my cat home?" "That isn't your cat, you bitch." "Yeah, she is. I've had her for years. Want to see the pics I've got?" Apparently, me being a smartass was a bad move, so Entitled Kid dropped to the ground and started screaming even louder as she flopped around. "Kitty! Look what you did. You made Entitled Kid cry. Just give her that cat already. Some child like you doesn't deserve such a pretty cat anyway, and Entitled Kid has been behaving wonderful and should be rewarded." I look at Entitled Kid, who's still throwing a tantrum. "You call that good behavior? Who do you think you are telling us how to raise our child?" "I'm not, but maybe I should." "Give us the f***ing cat already." "Nope. That's f***ing it. I'm getting that thing myself." He started stomping towards me and Turbo, obviously about to try and grab her, but I'd had enough, so grabbing Turbo, I quickly put her in my bag and zipped it up so only her head was poking out and she couldn't jump out. With that done, I turned back to Entitled Dad, who had almost reached me and was glaring at my bag, obviously intent on just ripping the whole thing off. Luckily, many years of being bullied had resulted in me developing a "f*** with me and die" attitude that I decided to use, so I gave him my hardest glare and loudly stomped my foot towards him, actually making him stop walking. "Listen, bitch, if you even think of coming near my cat again, I'm ripping off your dick, making you eat it out, and eat it again." Dramatic gasp. She might have been shocked that someone actually threatened Entitled Dad, or maybe just my imagination and language, but whatever. Same goes for you and your fake boobs. Get out of here now. As they just stood there frozen, with Entitled Kid having stopped crying, I carefully placed my bag with Turbo in it down, and this time, I was the one stomping towards them. Go! That seemed to work, as the entitled parents dragged their mayonnaise stain onto the car and drove off with screeching tires. Never before was I so glad to have been a pretty big girl. I grabbed my bag with Turbo in it and started walking home again, but after a few minutes, I swear I saw the same car again, with the driver and passenger both looking the other way so I couldn't see their faces. I figured they might have somehow found me again and were trying to follow me to my home to steal Turbo some other time, so I decided to take a walk past my house and just kept walking for at least an hour before I started taking all kinds of paths that were short, but where cars couldn't come. After a while, I managed to not only lose them, but have them thinking me, and more importantly Turbo, lived in a different neighborhood. Still, as soon as I got home, I got my other cat inside, and my mom and I didn't let them out for at least a week in fear that those people would somehow show up again. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, OP did provide cat tax. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Common Chameleon. My wife says if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, she might voice over one of the videos in the near future. That would be pretty epic, so let's see 1,000 likes on the video, and if you really like it, remember to subscribe.